Good morning and welcome to the City of Laurel. It's our pleasure to be here with you this morning. On behalf of the residents of the City of Laurel, we want to again welcome you here. We're hopeful that when you leave here, you will have learned about our police department and their efforts in community policing. Hi, welcome to another show of Mayor Moe on the Go. Today with me is our Chief of Police, McLaughlin, and we are going to talk a little bit about what occurred here in the City of Laurel yesterday. We had an Iraqi delegation that came by to learn about community policing, and our chief and his staff did a wonderful presentation to the delegation. So welcome, Chief, and let me start out by asking you the first question, and that is, what was this all about?
Thank you for having me today. The intent of this is it's sponsored by the State Department, and it's normally arranged by the World Trade Center. And the intent is to bring in outside agencies from other parts of the world to expose them to our type of policing, particularly our community policing programs, what we're doing to improve relations with the community. You know, obviously worldwide, the police are in the United States are getting a negative name through the media and through some of the events that have occurred throughout the country. So this is a very refreshing opportunity for us to engage foreign countries and explain to them how our community policing program works, the benefits of community policing, and what we have done to build, maintain, and encourage our community policing programs.
Good. And how many from the delegation were with you yesterday?
There was actually 8 that came that were police executives throughout the country of Iraq. There were, I believe, 3 or 4 translators because obviously there was a language issue. So it was about 12 to 13 people that came.
Yeah, I know I had the opportunity to take part in some of it yesterday, but I know you all did a tour and many other things too. How about, can you explain to the public what some of those things that you did as well?
Well, again, we discussed our community policing programs, how we have built on it, how we started it, and how we have nurtured it. Then we took them and showed them the police facility, which is new to them. Obviously, our policing styles and techniques are a lot different than theirs, as are the tools that we have available and the opportunities that we have available.
And how about some of the questions? What were some of the questions that they asked?
They asked the difference. I refer to community policing as non-traditional policing, which it truly is. It's not a reactive response. It's more of a proactive response. It's a stopping in a business or an establishment, just to have conversation and engage the business owners and or the occupants. So we discussed the difference of a traditional versus non-traditional policing methods, which traditional would be you answer a call for service, you go, you take your police report, and there's limited interaction with any of the residents. So that was one of the big questions, and I think that was a big hurdle for them to understand. They wanted to know the makeup of the agency. Right. They wanted to know the makeup of the city. They wanted to know how you and the council and the government actually helps to promote and endorse and fuel our community policing programs. Right. There were some budgetary questions. There was a lot of great questions as far as what different opportunities we have taken advantage of, what the different programs that we have, such as the Cops Camp, the National Night Out, the different things that we do to engage the community in non-traditional policing ways.
You know, one of the things that I picked up that they asked questions on quite a bit was about the trust factor with the community and the police officers. Any response to?
Well, I think that the police have had a lot of mishaps that have been publicized worldwide, and it does give the impression that there's no trust of the police. There's no trust of policing in this country, or it's very limited as far as the trust in the police.
You know, I think they have a different perspective, you know, coming from Iraq when we talk about trust and the things, how they police and how you all police. So I thought it was interesting, really, how several of the questions talked about how they can build trust in their community as well. And I think you talked about a lot of different programs that your officers are doing as well. And I know you had some of your officers there with you, and you had some show and tell, I think, as well. So how about How about some of the show and tell that you showed to them yesterday? And I know a couple of them like riding some of those show and tell things.
Absolutely. Again, because of the techniques that we utilize to have an open, honest relationship with the community, we utilize the segways, we utilize the bicycle, we're on foot, we have the motorcycles. We demonstrations of the segways, allowed them to ride the segways, which we do on a regular basis with our citizens. We allowed them to ride the bicycle if they wanted to. We showed them the motorcycles. I think it's new for them because obviously they're not as open with the community and with their citizens as we're trying to be. And it was kind of refreshing for them to see police using different modes of operation or transportation other than a vehicle.
I didn't think you were going to get one of your bikes back yesterday.
Yeah,
One of them
it came pretty
took off
close.
outside the road up the street and down the street, so it was interesting. He had a good time. Did any follow-up? Are they going to come back? Did they invite you over to?
No, I didn't
come
get an
visit? No?
invitation yet,
Okay,
but
all right.
there's normally a follow-up. We normally get some type of follow-up through World Trade. We exchange business cards, so email addresses, so obviously we can have some type of correspondence. We left the lines open for them to contact us if they had any further questions, needed any insight and any advice.
Yeah, I thought for me a couple questions that they asked were really on the budget side. Wanted to know how we funded the police department, how we interacted with you as the department head and the priorities and the goals that you have and how they're funded, where our money really came from. I thought the interesting question was they wanted to know mayor and council or police officers after their service. And in our case, mayor and council, there's a stipend that they get now, but when you go out of office, there is no funding, there is no retirement. And with our police officers have 20-year retirement and our employees that have 30-year retirement, I think they understood that there is a pension that they pay into, and that is for the life of the employee or the officer that is, that provided the service for those years. So I thought that was an interesting question that they had asked. And also, I think one of the things I expressed to them, and I think you did throughout the day, was community policing only works when it's top to bottom, as you said yesterday. And mayor and council, support the community policing efforts. We think it's important. You have provided a lot of detail, a lot of information to the council throughout the years, and I think this current council in particular has supported that in the way that they voted and supported the budget and your program. So, I talked to some of them afterwards regarding that and told them that although they are the law enforcement officials, they really need to go back and talk to their elected officials or appointed officials to have a buy-in, because you can't do it without everybody, as you said, top to bottom. I think Officer Johnson was there yesterday as well. As I said to them, I don't go anywhere when, seeing kids in the schools who don't bring up Officer Johnson, where he's made an impact. I think that's important for the community, and I was glad to see Joe there yesterday. And he talked a little bit as well about the different programs that you all are doing. So I thought that was just a real well-planned event that you all did yesterday. And I know I had to leave early, but it was interesting to see some of the photos afterwards where they had done the tour and then they came out side of the police. How about communication? Did you take them into communications as well, or?
We did not. It was kind of busy. But obviously after you left, there were some follow-up questions. There was a lot of follow-up discussion, and one of the biggest things that we stressed with them post-conversation or post-demonstration was that this is not a one-time thing. Community policing is not something that you can just say, okay, today we're going to do community policing and we're not going to follow through on it and we're not going to follow up on it. It is a constant, ongoing thing, and it is, once you start it, you have to continue it. You have to nurture it. And actually, one of them made a comparison to planting a tree. When you plant a tree, you have to feed it, you have to fertilize it, you have to prune it, you have to make sure that you're taking care of it. And community policing, that is an awesome analogy of what community policing is, because it's not a one-time thing. It's a constant, ongoing, building a trust, building the relationships, maintaining those relationships, and building on those relationships. And that's what it's all about. And it's building those goodwill ambassadors. And as you said, Joe is probably my biggest figurehead right now for community policing. There's a lot of younger officers that are following in his footsteps. He's very engaging. He's in everybody's face. He's constantly on a Segway. Rarely do you see him in a car. He's very approachable. And at times he can be very entertaining, particularly when he's dealing with the citizens. And that is what our community has grown to know.
Sure.
And they deserve that. So it's a benefit.
I was saying they can see Joe as well as all of your officers coming up. I know that we're taping the show, but the National Night Out is coming up. Why don't you talk just a little bit about that so that everybody knows as well?
It'll be Tuesday, August 1st. It's at Goody Park at the lake. We will have demonstrations as we normally do. It's an opportunity to interact with the police, again, in a non-traditional way. We do some demonstrations. We work with the fire department, the rescue squad. They'll do some demonstrations. I think the bomb squad's going to have some demonstrations. We're going to have helicopter. We'll have dog shows. We'll do a lot of different non-traditional policing and demonstration. And it actually opens the lines of communications because it gives people the opportunity to actually discuss and talk with police about their problems, concerns, and just to have a conversation. Then immediately following that next week, we're going to do the cops camp, which I believe this is our 11th or 12th. Again, we have about 100 kids. It's a phenomenal program. It exposes our officers to children that typically don't have children and or haven't been exposed to children. It allows the children exposure to the police officers, which feeds their interest and their curiosity, which then they take them to their families, they discuss it at family dinners, and they talk about the exciting things they did that day. And it is an absolute win-win. It's a great program, and I'm so glad that we have the endorsement and the support, the continuing support of not only you, but the council.
Right. And a lot of these officers give of their own time, right?
Yes, sir, it's volunteer.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that these police officers, this is something they do on their own time. And it's a week-long event, and it's you know, I've always supported it. It's a great event of watching the kids come up and get their citation and shaking your hand, and very proud of you know, the parents in particular, the kids who took part in that program. So, but that's part of community policing as well.
Absolutely, and you know, here's another prime example. Officer Johns, who is a new hire, he hasn't even completed his FTO program or his field training program. The other day he handled a case where shoplifting occurred. There was a theft of some merchandise, or an attempt theft of some merchandise, some diapers. He charged the woman. Then at the same time, he turned around and he purchased the diapers for her child. That is positive community policing. That is community policing at its best. Those are the things that your officers do on a regular basis. You know, whether it's changing a tire, whether it's, hey, we found this dog and they're putting a flash out on Facebook, whether it's taking a family of 5 to a hotel because their car broke down. These are things our officers are doing on a regular basis that they're not being recognized for. That is community policing. That is building the trust of the citizens, residents, visitors, as well as adding transparency to this agency.
Yeah, and people don't have to wait until one of these special events. They can come by the station pretty much anytime. If it's available, do a walkthrough with an officer and take part. I know you all are busy a lot of times and can't go to certain sections of the building, but you know, this is the people's building there, you know, City Hall as well as Police Department, and they don't have to wait for one of the special events. They can come and see you or one of your officers and see the station, right?
Absolutely. My door is always open.
Yeah, so very, very good. So anything else that you'd like to add on the delegation and their visit?
Well, I would, because I think that engaging these other foreign countries, which we have done several times, it enlightens us as far as the differences within the world. But a lot of our community policing programs, they have just become so standard within our agency that we kind of forget the things that we do that go the extra mile. And again, it's what your citizens have come to expect, and they've demanded it. One of the newest things that we've done with your support and the council support is the drug take-back boxes. Those are absolutely huge, and I cannot tell you how many compliments I have gotten because we have that. And what that is it's a box where you can bring your unwanted, unneeded medical or prescription, over the counter, all your medicine, drop it in the box, we'll dispose of it correctly. Recently, with your support, we added the syringe take-back box for people that may have, unfortunately, family members die, they're diabetic, you don't know what to do with the syringes. We'll take them, we'll dispose of them, we'll keep them out of landfills, we'll keep them out of the water supplies, and most importantly, we'll keep them out of the hands of children. So it's a huge benefit. Those boxes are both at City Hall, in the lobby of the City Hall during business hours. The police department 24 hours a day, no questions asked, just drop it off.
Right, and I know I've used the one over at the police department many times, just even aspirin or stuff that's outdated, instead of, we don't want to throw it in our water system or down the toilet. Those things are even in a waste paper basket. We want to take those and dispose of them properly. So now you have 2 opportunities. One at the Municipal Center, which is pretty much Monday through Friday from at least 9 to 5. Sometimes we're here open late, Tuesdays until 7, and then council meetings and other work sessions. So it may be open pretty much 9 to 5, and they can drop syringes off now as well. And that's right in the lobby here. And then at the police department, as you said, in the lobby again, 24/7, drop it off. Nobody asks any questions, and they're disposing of it in the proper manner.
Yes, sir.
So very good. Well, I want to thank you for the work that you do as chief and your leadership. I want to thank your officers for the hard work that they continue to do in the community. I know it's not an easy job. I know I get letters every now and then, all of them in the last several years have been very positive, and every now and then we get one that we send to you and you investigate, and take action, or take the appropriate action, and more importantly follow up with the individual that has a concern sometimes. So I want to thank you again, and appreciate you coming by and talking a little bit about what happened yesterday at the Iraqi delegation. And if you have other delegations come by, we'll bring you back to the program and let you talk about it. So again, thank you very much, and thank all your officers for their hard work.
Thank you, Mayor.
So, thank you all very much, and I want to tell you to look forward to the next Mayor Moe on the Go program. And if you have questions or concerns, please feel free to call my office. So thank you all very much.